Hello and welcome back, listeners, to Tales from the Dark Dragon's Inn. We're glad you're still with us. We hope you're enjoying the ride. If you're listening to us on iTunes and you have a spare minute, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review. Not only will we be reading each and every single one personally, but these help us to spread the word and would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions for myself or any of the cast, drop us a message on Twitter at Dark Dragons Inn. Or you can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, or drop us an email on contact@talesfromthedarkdragonsinn.co.uk. This week we're joined by my good friend Dean, playing the character of Zilpip. You'll meet him shortly. And now for a quick recap. The city of Greenest is under attack. The party has made their way through the city, abandoning their duties of protecting the caravan in favour of trying to rush to the rescue of some townsfolk who are under siege. You encountered a woman and her family called Linan. You guided them through the town. Toby lost his mind a little bit. Squirrel touched him. He didn't like it. You guys killed a bunch of people who were apparently evil, wearing creepy dragon-like masks. You killed a whole bunch of kobolds. You guided the townsfolk that you met along the way to safety to the keep. And at the very last minute, managed to successfully knock one of the cultists unconscious. At the suggestion of Fabolg, Murren hoisted him over his shoulder and dragged him into the keep with the rest of you. You made your way inside, at which point you were held up by a series of guards who were surrounding you. Initially, the captain of this guard was a little bit suspicious of the lot of you. Murren is hoisting a half-elf, half-dragonborn over his shoulder with a badly burned and mutilated face. After the party had semi-negotiated their way into the keep, the captain looked up and saw the entering Doomsinger. He insisted that the Doomsinger reveal himself and no longer be masked, as he wasn't about to let a masked stranger during the peak of an attack into his keep. There looked like there was going to be an incident. However, prior to this situation, the Doomsinger had encouraged some of the other mercenaries and guards on the caravan trail to head into the town to save people, and they had made it to the keep before you guys. And they vouched for you, so you are currently in a position of the captain of the guard, whose name is Escobar, who is a grisly-looking dwarf. And he's looking at you all, he's like, look, there's going to be a guard on you at all times, and we're going to be watching you very, very closely. But for now, you're free to go with your friend.
Hello, I'm Vinny. I play Murren, the half-orc monk. He has a slender build, dark green skin, blue eyes, and coarse dark hair, tied into a ponytail. He dresses simply in a loose shirt, breeches and sandals, which he wears underneath a traditional monk's robe, tied at the waist with rope. He also wears a bracelet patterned with scales, which was given to him by his master Creve. It bears the symbol of Bahamut. As a monk of the Order of the Stoneclaw, he has set out to learn more of the wider world, also seeks an old acquaintance. One who he hopes has answers about the events surrounding the tragic fate of his best friend.
I'm Liz, and I play Toby, a warlock of the Raven Queen. Toby is a tiefling, 6 foot tall and of slender build. His eyes are purple, and he wears his purple black hair short. His skin is a pale grey, and he has horns which curve backwards and to the sides before tapering off into fine points. He wears a turtleneck vest on top, both in different shades of purple. Has a long thin tail ending in a tuft of hair. Often perched on his head is his spirit raven, Oz. Toby is currently hunting for a cure for his sister Isla, who he left in the care of a friend.
I'm Tom, and I'm playing the delightfully oblivious Urbak Voss, Lizardman Wizard. Urbak's basically your average man-shaped lizard, about 5'10", with green scales, yellow underbelly, and a head not unlike a velociraptor. As well as a rucksack and travelling clothes, he wears a traditional, though tattered, doctor's coat. Urbak is an ex-slave who worked at the sawbones and the wastes before hiding in a pile of post-revolt corpses to make his escape. He now travels the world, peddling his medicinal skills, whilst looking to sate his scientific curiosities about life, death, and everything in between.
And I'm Ray, your host and game master, and I play, well, just about everyone else. Safe and sound to the keep they fled. Though tired, worn, and seeing red, a captive taken to the hold, whose tale swiftly must be told. Our heroes have questions aplenty, but for the answers, Are they ready? Your friends, the half-orc, half-dragonborn who stands before you, are back. You are familiar with the bearded gnome who you saved the life of after a bear attack upon the caravan during the trail. I'd say there's a reasonable chance you've met the half-orc. So his name is Feng, and obviously, you've been traveling with the Doomsinger, so you're often seen together, and he sees you as well. And Doomsinger turns and says, well, all of you, I believe you've probably met my friend here. Feng kind of nods and goes, Marin, good to see you. I've seen the rest of you, I guess. And Squirrel goes, well met, friend. Come on, it's great here, come on. And the guards, as you guys start walking through the guard line, the captain says, Edric, with them. Small gnomish man who is part of the guard turns away from the line and starts to follow you. So now that you guys are inside the keep, what do you want to do? You have a few of the caravan crew with you at the moment. You have an unconscious cultist over your shoulder, Marin.
We should kind of use this cultist. We should find there.
I believe, someone mentioned that we should take him to a table?
Who are you saying this to?
Toby's just saying it in general to the group who are trying to work out what they're going to do.
Edric, the small gnome man with you, says, Tarbor, I can take you to Tarbor if you think that's what you would like.
Well, we've got this unconscious cultist. We should probably figure out what to do with him and what his group wants with your town.
He kind of just sneers at the unconscious cultist. Vermin is what they are. The things that they've done to this town is just disgusting.
Yes, and we should try and figure out why they're doing it.
Just nods. Yes, I don't know how much talking he's going to do in that state. You guys did a number on him.
I'm sure we haven't killed him yet.
Yes.
So Tarbor then?
Please.
Doomsinger, yes, that seems like a likely course of action. Do you not think? Yeah. And he kind of looks at the masked man. He's just like, follow me.
Follows him.
He starts to lead you across the courtyard. He's quite confident in his walk. He's actually directing you straight to where he thinks you need to be. And then suddenly he sort of turns his head and goes, Mr. Nighthill, and he, Governor! And he starts rushing off diagonally to one side. And you see he's rushing towards a pair of gnomes, both of whom seem much older than this young gnome who has been left to guard you. And he rushes over. You see them look up at you. One turns to the other. He's wearing quite fine clothes. He has an arm in a sling. He has a small but greying goatee. And he nods to his companion, and he nods to Edric in front of you, and starts walking over towards you guys. So all three gnomes come back to you before you make much progress. Hello, I am Tarbor Nighthill, and I am... let's just say I lead the town from here. I am led to believe that you have a guest for us.
Putting it politely. I don't think guest is quite an appropriate word, but yes, we have one of the cultists. Unconscious, not dead.
You say cultist, he looks confused. He says, cultists? Well, but why? What? He seems very confused. Dean, could you give us a brief breakdown of what the elderly gnome next to this gentleman looks like?
He's a pretty scruffy dude, pretty short, a little bit fat, really old, matted hair. His clothes are a bit ragtag, very, very white hair, overgrown facial hair, no shoes.
He turns to you and says, I'm sorry to cut our conversation short. Perhaps you could join us. I think your expertise in such matters may come in handy. And he turns to you, Marin, and says, would you like to bring this gentleman to my quarters? We don't really have any other place we can take him to right at this moment. Please follow me.
I'm intrigued.
I'll follow. Friends?
So everybody starts to head in that direction. Nyx gets your attention, Toby, and she's like, I'm not feeling so great. One of the kobolds stabbed me pretty good out there. I think I'm going to go try and find a medic.
Toby turns to her and he kind of He takes, Oz off of his, horns and puts it on Vix's shoulder so that she can send Oz to him when she's, ready to come back to the party or to tell him where she is.
She's like, thank you, Toby. I'm sure I'll be fine. Then she kind of, looks down at her leg. It's still kind of bleeding a little bit. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Please take care of yourself, Mix.
Gives you a little salute. And then she goes over to Escobar. You see her kind of just wander over to him and tap him on the shoulder, and he turns around looking alarmed. They have a little discussion, and he leads her off. Oz kind of back at you. And you get a slight sensation of confirmation or happiness from Oz that Mix is doing as she's told. Tarbor leads yourself, Edric, the older gnome gentleman, and the rest of you to the large tower in the keep, which is at the back corner. So he leads you up a series of stairs into a large spherical tower, and he leads you into one of the rooms. He walks you past various townsfolk in various states of repair, mostly families, children, old folk, women. In this particular area, it's most of the younger men that you do see are injured. You get the idea that this is basically just where they're trying to hole up as many people as possible to keep them out of the way. Tarbor gestures to a chair in the room that you can put the cultist down on if you wish to.
Okay, do that.
I am to that.
Give a nod, and then go and sit him down on the chair and get some rope. And I'd like to kind of secure his hands and feet chair.
Okay. You successfully tie up the unconscious guy, watching and sort of making sure the bindings are sufficiently tight. Tarbor, thank you. This will hopefully shed some light on what's happening here. I truly thought I'm very perplexed. From the reports that we had, I was under the impression that this was an elven raid, but cultists. What makes you say they're cultists?
Well, they're running around with dragon masks on, shouting "Hail Tiamat."
I had not heard anything to that effect, but I had simply assumed the masks were a disguise to hide their true faces.
No, they certainly said it quite a lot of times after we killed them. Before we killed them, rather.
Doomsinger turns up and says, "They've been saying what? I just thought it was a load of bloody nonsense, frankly." He's like, "I don't know. None of that gibberish makes any sense to me." He turns to you specifically back and says, "No offense." Actually, no, he doesn't, because he wouldn't care. Tarbor says, "Well, this is, Zilpip. Who are you? What might I call you?"
My name's Toby.
I am Dr. Vakmos at your service.
Ah, Doctor. Excellent. We'll have much need of your service this night, no doubt.
That's not excellent. It's not good to need a doctor's service.
True, but it is good that you are here. It would be far worse to need a doctor's services and not to have one.
That is typically the case.
We do have medics here, and they will see to your aid if any of you do need assistance, but we will certainly welcome another pair of hands. And Scraw says, hiding in the back, "I am Scraw. You may call me Scraw. Scraw is my name." That's very good. It's a pleasure to meet you. And you also, Tarbor. He says, "Nighthill, please. Governor Nighthill will do." Doomsinger does not introduce himself. He just hangs back in the back of the room. Zilpip, do you introduce yourself to this group of strangers? After Tarbor introduces you, do you make any moves to communicate?
He doesn't really have anything to do with these people, so he's just there, waiting.
So you are aware that Greenest has been under attack, and has been under attack by, I'd say, for a couple of hours now. Tarbor's been sort of communicating with you about his concerns. He believed, until now, that it was an elven raid on his city, and these people have captured one of the invaders, and he needs information from him. And for some reason, he thinks you might be able to help in that. So now this cultist is bound to a chair.
I'm just keeping an eye on him, for when he wakes up.
Doomsinger is just sort of sitting in the back, completely disinterested with the whole thing. He just doesn't want anything to do with these half-elves. Tarbor turns to you, Obrak, and says, "Doctor, if you could perhaps tend to this man, bring him round, then we can, perhaps we can gain some information from him."
Not certainly. Okay, so he walks up to the doctor, he walks up to the dude, had a medicine check to find out what kind of state he's properly in. Like we'll learn a bit more
the
about
medicine
his
check
state.
is all you really need to roll to resolve this situation.
Okay.
His face is severely burned. The Doomsinger firebolted him. This is the cultist that
Oh, that
attacked.
guy.
the cultist that attacked the townsfolk first, and after doing so was attacked by Toby and the Doomsinger, and the Doomsinger burned his face up.
So messy.
Yeah, so he passed out from the pain in his face.
Way, 18. Good roll for that.
Nice. So how do you go about bringing this guy to consciousness?
I'm going to stare intently just at the face for a few seconds, and then with both hands, slap him sharply on the cheek.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that'd medicine the heck out of him.
Don't kill this guy.
You slap him about, and he actually comes to screaming. He's just like, ah! 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 Ah!
There we go.
And
Definitely alive.
he doesn't stop. He's alive, but he's just continuously groaning in pain. And Tarbor kind of looks slightly shocked at your ministrations. It says, I don't think he's going to tell us much if he's in too much pain to talk. Is there anything you can do about this?
We will need some kind of salve for a burn of this nature. You're only quite severe and will keep him in pain for quite some time.
You probably would have access to that in your components pouch. With that medicine check, if you wish to, you may apply a salve of some kind.
Okay, so apply a salve to the burnt side of his face, even though he's wriggling around a bit.
Absolutely is, and when he feels something touch him, he lashes out sideways and tries to snap at the hand, and then realizes that you're a quite large lizard man and holds still while you put this on him. Then, as you are done and the pain begins to subside slightly, he says to you in Dragonborn, "You lower yourself. You are of a higher order than these."
Curious. It appears to take me as some kind of dragon. Assuming from his coat. Does anyone
do you say that
to...
in common, or do you say it in Dragonborn?
I say it in common.
As you say this in common, he just sneers at you and spits on the ground by your feet. Tarbor sort of looks at you and is just like, he thinks you're a, right, okay, you there, what are your people doing here? And the cultist just side-eyes him, says nothing.
Toby repeats the question in Draconic.
He sneers, just says nothing. He looks at you, kind of with like a smug, big shit-eating grin. He understands what you're saying. I have nothing to say.
Maybe we should slap him again. Just a thought.
That was much more damage.
Doomsinger just takes out his loot and starts plucking at it because he doesn't understand anything that anyone's saying.
I'm going to silently stand up and put acid in his lap.
What, the cultist?
Yeah, mate, that fucking cultist.
Are you just going to pour it, or are you going to...
Yeah, I'm going to pour it in his lap.
Okay, yeah, so you guys watch as this little old gnome sort of creaks up onto his limbs, walks over and he reaches into a very odd-looking bag. And he just kind of blindly reaches around with one hand and pulls something out. You see him make a motion over the guy's lap, and he just starts screaming again.
Do we see what he actually did proper, or do we see him do the motion?
Go ahead and roll a perception check. You are the closest, so you can probably... I don't think you do, but you probably hear... Because you see him kind of make a motion, and the guy's like... He looks down and sneers, and he kind of just like... makes a face of disgust initially, as like he feels something under his clothes, and then you sort of hear a slight hissing, and you see his clothes on his lap begin to smoke, and then he starts to scream.
Can I now pour a healing draft on him? On his lap?
Is that how they work?
How long do you leave it?
Until I know that the acid will have started to, just before it starts to sort of wear off. I know it's inflicted this damage, but it to peak him out.
You would have to make him drink the healing draft.
Yeah, I'm just going to pour it down his throat. He's tied up, right?
He's sitting down, he's tied up, but, I mean, how tall are you?
Pretty short. Maybe I can't reach him.
Yeah, you probably couldn't reach it to make him drink it yourself.
I'm pretty darn short, to be honest.
Yeah, you probably can't actually reach high enough to make him drink it. And Tarbor's kind of looking at you horrified, like, what? Is this really necessary?
What? Maybe I'll just put it in his hand and just say, maybe you should tell us.
In a bit.
The gnome reaches into his bag again and pulls something else out. Who do you give it to you, Zilpit? Because the guy's bound behind his back on the chair, presumably.
Well, I'm going to give it to Tarbor.
Okay. Tarbor's...
Because he's in charge of the operation. And he's the only person I know.
He is 4 foot tall, so that would probably be tall enough. He's just like, what is this? What? Do you want me to do that as well? I'm not going to torture this man.
Might be the only way to get him to talk. Just saying.
Don't let this be another blip, my friend. This healing draft.
It's
will
like
we'll leave him long enough
like
for...
the dawn of realization. It is like, as you say, healing draft. He's like, and he rushes over. The man's thrashing in his chair, and he grabs his head and hold up.
So when the acid was poured, and then the guy like violently reacted, I wanted to kind of step in and just kind of hold. So I'm not sure if it's doing any help at all.
Yeah, you've kind of rushed over and you've gone, oh, wait, we shouldn't be harming this guy. And he's like screaming behind you, and Zilpip just turns to Tarbor and goes, here, give him this. Nighthill rushes over and tries to get the man to hold his head still so that he can force feed him this potion, but he's not able to do so. You see him struggling. He's like, please, can you help? Hold him still. We must drink. Are you going to help him restrain this guy?
Can I hold? I'll get behind and I'll hold his head.
Yeah.
And I look at Zilpip and I go, but will it help?
It'll help him talk.
Tarbor, with your assistance, successfully puts the vial to the mouth of the cultist, and the cultist, unable to resist doing so, swallows the draft. So that heals him very nicely. As
He's better than he was before the acid. This slightly healthy fucker.
He swallows the draft and recovers, comes to, and then he goes slack in his chair.
Are his eyes open?
You don't know. I mean, like, you're behind him right now.
Yeah,
so
I was kind of securing his
yeah,
head.
Sure. Did you let go once he finished giving them potion?
Well, so I just kind of peek over, see if he's still conscious.
First off, how are you checking if he's conscious?
Just knock his head back, and then just...
That's the extent of your insight as to whether or not he's conscious. You did roll medicine check with disadvantage. He isn't showing us any signs that you recognize as consciousness.
Can I tell if he's conscious?
But Tarbor turns to Zilpip, even more horrified that you have now made him do something that has forced this man into unconsciousness, and says, "You said this would help."
Oh, he'll probably be fine. I didn't think it's what did to him, but he'll probably be fine.
Listen to your young friend. He'll be fine.
Is this normal? Do people usually go unconscious when you heal them?
Well, I mean, he's probably traumatized.
I'm not a doctor.
Can I?
What did you give me? Oh, this night.
Can I roll to check if Phil was lying about...
Insight check.
That's... Yeah. Solve or whatever.
You really can't tell. He seems really unconscious. This is like the most unconscious person you've ever seen. It's totally unresponsive and just doing a really good job of being unconscious right now.
Just hold his nose.
Well...
Have I tried to wake him again?
Yeah, you can try and wake him. How are you going to try and wake him?
This time I'm going to apply the usual slap to the cheek, paying no attention to the fact that one of them is still horribly burned.
Okay, I need you to make an attack roll, please. Make a dex save.
Woo! Natural one.
So you looking at this guy and you're sort of seeing everyone poking and prodding him and you're like, no. This is not how medicine works. Look. And you go to slap him, and as your hand comes in to catch him, this time he turns around, he snaps out of unconsciousness, air quotes, and whips down his sharp teeth on your hand as hard as he physically can. And he actually bites off a chunk of your finger. On whichever hand you choose, he actually bites, I'd say, up to the first knuckle, just completely gone.
Oh,
he literally just, because he's half dragonborn, so he is essentially built like an elf, but he has scales and very sharp teeth, and he uses those to chomp down on your hand as you try and bite him. And as he does this, and you pull your hand away, he just and he spits your your finger chunk at your feet, and there's just lizard blood dripping down his face, and he grins maniacally.
Doctor, are you alright?
It's only 2 points of damage, but it does leave you permanently mutilated.
Teeth. I must have those teeth. I don't mind me.
Surely there are more pressing issues.
Come on, might I inquire if you have any ice in your cellar?
Tarbor says, yes. He's looking at you, kind of shaking. He's like, "Are you all right? Should we get another medic in here? I'm just, I will send for someone." And he kind of just goes to the door, and you hear him call out for someone. And in fact, actually, he just turns to Edric, who has been with you, and tells him to go get it. And he looks at him and says, "Oh, sorry, Governor. I have to stay here with him." And he points at the Doomsinger, and he's like, "Oh, very well." And he goes and gets one of the other guards. And he says, "Fetch one of the medics." And so he sends him off to find a medic and some ice. So you now have a cackling, bound prisoner with blood all over him.
Going to add the finger to my inventory.
Fingertip, I would suggest. Tobble comes back and says, "I'm not sure how long you'll be, but you may wish to apply pressure. I think that's usually what you do, right?"
Yeah, you should probably cover that up so you're not, bleeding all over the floor.
Did the doctor retrieve his finger tip?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Scraw, seeing the prisoner lash out, saunters over to the prisoner to your side, next to Murray, and says, "Well, I really don't think this is going that well. I mean, we've got no use for a prisoner who..." And he just turns around and belts him across the side of the head with his big long arms, and he gives him a good smack.
Murray steps back a little bit.
Turns to the cultist. He's just like, "Now listen, friend. If you try anything like that again, you losing fingers. You understand." Cultist just goes and spits out as much of the blood as he can in Scraw's direction. Scraw makes a dex save and fails. So Scraw reels back and wipes the blood from his eyes. "So are we going to ask this person anything, or are we just going to get rid of him? I'm tiring of his attitude."
I don't think he's any use to us if he's not going to answer any questions.
I will take his teeth, though, if he's not going to answer anything.
That's morbid, but okay.
Tarbor, should I prepare the acid bath?
I mean, I really don't think that's necessary. I think perhaps if we are done with this man, we should put him in one of the cells if we can. But
well, if you have
I
room
feel
in this
he must have
castle-
more information than this. But perhaps we're not applying the right approach.
Murray says, "Yes, a cell is a wonderful idea."
Yes, a nice warm cell will keep this prisoner happy for years to come.
Who said it has to be warm? Toby goes up to him. He kind of puts his hand on the cultist's shoulder, and he gets as close to this guy as he dares, because he doesn't want to get bitten in the face. And he's probably closer to this guy than he's been to anyone else in the room. And he's just like...
That's true.
In Draconic, he says, "Look, if you don't start answering our questions, I'm going to let that gnome pour more acid on you, because at that point, I don't care. If you're not going to give us anything, you're useless."
So he has had acid poured on him, and he's been threatened by the big people in the room and beaten, just like, whatever, what are you going to do? And then this weedy little tiefling wanders over and just kneels down and gets all close to his face, just like, "The gnome will be allowed to do whatever he wants. Don't answer our questions. Doing nothing." And he looks into Toby's eyes, and he can see something there, a little twinkle of absolute loathing that he doesn't see in anybody else's face. And he's not that happy about seeing it. He's a little bit afraid. He's just like... And again, in Draconic, "What do you wish to know?"
What are you and your people doing here, for a start?
We are amassing a great hoard, treasure beyond measure, to usher the great queen into the world. We will begin the reign of the Queen of Dragons.
Toby has to take a deep breath to keep himself from losing his shit a second time. Did you bring a dragon with you?
I wouldn't say we brought a dragon. They're rather
Then what-
large and hard to conceal.
Let me rephrase
Hard
the
to
question.
carry.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase my question.
He is being more cooperative now. You guys see that Toby has managed to have some kind of influence on him.
Do I know anything about this? Obviously, he's a cultist, like, in terms of, like, what religion they are and who they're worshipping. Alright.
Go ahead and roll a religion check. I don't believe you've had any dealings with them previously, so just be a regular religion. So you don't have any immediately identifying marks. However, you have heard the phrase Queen of Dragons before, as that is commonly used in association with Tiamat, who occasionally will manage to rile up dark cultists to try and break free from her slumber and into the world once more. Usually causing death and chaos is primarily their actions. So you're not specifically familiar with this cult because they are just wearing black robes and he doesn't have any other identifying marks with him. But based on what he has just said about the Queen of Dragons, it is clear that he is worshipping Tiamat in some way. I think based on what he's said, that's all you can probably gather right now.
Tiamat's been pretty unsuccessful the last few years.
This time is different. And he says this in Draconic. I don't know if you understand Draconic.
No, I don't understand bloody gobbledygook.
Yeah, so he just turns around and goes, yes.
How is it different?
This time she will succeed. The reign of the Queen of Dragons has been foretold. The time is now, and we shall be the ones to usher her through the gates.
How do you intend to do this something? How do you bring this being through the gate?
I am not privy to these details. I simply know that we must amass a great hoard of treasure, so that we may present it to her upon her arrival.
You must forgive my skepticism in the fact that you have leaders who simply told you to find their money, and then with proof of a god, with no proof of this god whatsoever.
Be as skeptical as you wish.
Do not worry, I intend to be.
If you were sent here to gather a hoard, then does that mean others were sent elsewhere to try and usher her in?
He simply shrugs. All I know is that Greenest is the largest town we've hit yet. It is a great trove, and we will return all of our riches to the Horde.
So you've hit other towns recently?
He sort of just bobs his head side to side, being like, well, you might say that.
It would be worthwhile to get a list of all the places that this cult has visited recently. Perhaps we could sever a finger for each town, or a person. I tend to find that severing limbs is quite effective, and I do appreciate the poetic justice in this at this moment in time.
What use is this information to you? Those towns are done with already. The villages have burned. Their people taken. What use could you possibly have with knowing where they were?
How about knowing where you've taken them to?
We have a camp. The people that are taken are working for the glory of Tiamat.
Very well. Well, obviously, of course, it would help us all to have the information as to the whereabouts of this camp. So I would like to suggest that you tell us now, because I would very much not like to have to blunt all my very useful implements covering different parts of you.
The camp is not far. Where are we?
Deep.
Head south. About 12 miles. A large camp. There is a cave. The camp surrounds it. They guard the entrance to the cave night and day.
Can I insight check him to see if he's lying to me? I don't know shit.
You get the feeling he's being fairly honest with you. I mean, you've never known cultists to lie before.
They are men of God.
I mean, he does seem like he's being fairly honest. As far as you can tell, you guys just met at a bar, practically. He's been so upfront. He's like the drunk guy at 2 a.m. telling you his life story. He says, I do not know what is in the cave, but I know that they do not want anybody getting close to it. That is where we take our hold. That is all I know.
How many of you are there?
Many. Surely you have seen through the town.
A more rounded number would be most appreciated.
Hundreds? Thousands? I don't know. You have to understand, I am not high on the rung, but I am also not giving a head count every time I enter. There are enough of us that we have stormed this city, and its people cower in a keep.
Returning to my previous question, which you dodged the answer quite spectacularly, is there a dragon with you, rather than did you bring one?
He looks around the room. Not as far as I can see.
Fuck's sake.
What's this one's obsession with dragons? She looks at the lizard man and goes, she talking about you?
I am a lizard folk, not dragon-born. There are significant and numerous anatomical differences.
Yes, you are simply a lower life form, to be pitied.
Mern asks, who do you want? Don't mean Tiamat. Is there a leader amongst your camp?
I am subservient to the purple robes.
The what?
You elaborate on the purple robe?
Sights so high, friend. You barely captured me. You have no hope.
This purple robe, is this your leader, or simply the name of your order? Oh, no.
The leaders are known only to us as the purple robes.
That's all you know? Know the detail? Nothing?
About what, exactly? There are many, as are we. If you want specifics, I'm afraid you'll have to be specific.
Numbers. Better numbers. Rounded numbers. Actions. Motives. Intentions. Not just summoning a dragon. You have to be specific about these things. Be a man of science for.
That was a lot of questions all at once. Rezimir, Frulam, these are names you will come to fear. Langding Drossa, know the name now, and shake in fear when you see their glory.
Toby is very quiet now. He's not saying anything.
What is a modus operandi then, to use a technical term?
He just looks puzzled.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Cultist, you... Fine. How do they go about obtaining what they need to obtain?
You have seen this for yourself.
Whole swarming of
Take it.
Backing them looting? No concentrated arms?
He just shrugs. I am not a general. I simply know what I am here to do. We were to barricade the keep, prevent those within from leaving, prevent those from within from preventing us from doing what we came to do.
What is it you came to do here specifically?
To gather riches for the Horde. I'm starting to wonder how much of a lesser creature you are.
I don't think we're going any deeper than that. It seems that they simply did come here just to pillage until they had everything they wanted, and everyone in a singular place to where they couldn't interfere with them.
Finally,
I thought
some bloody sense.
Yeah, I thought you had much more finesse than this. Always the same with you cults.
Well, I
God.
don't this particular individual or any of the others sacking the city are particularly high up the ladder, so they probably aren't trusted with anything more important.
At this point, Tabor speaks up. This has been enlightening. Turns to the cultist. Why this? The cultist simply replies, soon all cities will be Tiamats. You are not special to us. You are simply convenient.
Probably on the way to somewhere else.
He sneers, a sort of half smile. Very astute. I like the way you think, boy. You could almost be one of us. And Tabor, if you have any further questions, I think perhaps we should simply restore him to a cell and, well, you can let me know and I will make sure the information is recovered. At this point, one of the guards walks in with a gentleman who is a tabaxi, and the tabaxi is dressed in very plain clothes, and he has a small leather bag with him. He says, I am led to believe there is a medical emergency.
Ah, yes, I have a
He just wanders
finger
over
severance
and,
issue.
completely ignoring anything you're saying, just picks up your hand and looks at it closely. He's like, yes, it's a very not so clean cut you have. Do you have the finger?
I do. I showed to him.
No, the cut was too unclean. I am sorry, it cannot be saved.
Is
This
the cut
November we can-
unclean, would you say, on the finger or the rest of the hand?
No, I mean the break. It was the bone here, and he points out to the finger, and he says it's shattered. So basically, it's just he's just saying it can't be reattached because the bone is too broken; it won't reset.
Oh yeah, the bone on the finger or the bone on the hand.
What's the difference?
He's gonna cut that guy's finger.
Aye. Completely coincidental.
No, I mean, he's basically saying the bone is essentially both. He's just looking at you when you're asking him this. He's just like, the bone, and he's like pointing at your hand. He's just like, it will take a while to heal, but it's nothing will attach here. This is not clean. And he sort of shoves it in your face. He's like, look. He whips it back down and starts to do his best to bandage and stitch the wound closed. Meanwhile, Tabor gestures to the guard to take the cultist to a cell.
Yes, I did want to get that tooth from him, actually. I've got the teeth.
I'm not sure that counts as a question.
Tabletop says, my friend, he has been very cooperative with us. You will do no further harm to this man. He is a prisoner under my protection now. If you lay a hand upon my prisoner, I am afraid you will be ejected from the keep. No further harm must come to this man.
Very well.
You will see trial and justice after the keep is saved. After the city is saved.
Very well. And I walk over with the doctor, looking very disappointed.
So the guard is leading the cultist out of the room, and as he does so, the cultist looks back over his shoulder and says in Draconic, boy, say hello to the dragon, will you? He just kind of cackles as he's dragged out.
Toby's seething, but he's so quiet that probably no one else can tell.
And it's on that note which we leave you this week. New episodes are every Sunday, so don't forget to subscribe to our feed to get them as soon as they air. You can find all this information and more on our website, talesfromthedarkdragonsin.co.uk. That's TAILS from the Dark Dragons, INN.co.uk. The track you heard at the beginning of this episode was Extravaganza by TRG Banks, and the song you're hearing now is While You Are Here by the amazing band Ending Satellites.